Hey guys, how's it going? Today I decided instead of working around the homestead, I was going to get out and enjoy this nice weather. It's about 65 degrees out, beginning of March, and I've been dying to go fishing for so long. And we're in the pre-spawn season right now for bass and for crappie and everything. And so it was time to get the old fishing kayak out and come on out here to the lake because it's just too nice. But before I do that, before I go out on the water, the big thing was going through all my gear and making sure that everything, one, is good for fishing and coming out to the lake, but two, I'm out here by myself. So I'm already breaking cardinal rule number one as far as going out on the water in a kayak. I'm in just a little fishing kayak, and it wouldn't take a whole lot for this thing to flip over, for something bad to happen. Luckily, there's a lot of civilization around here, so it's not like I'm going to be completely stranded if I fall in the water and I'm able to make it to the shore. But my biggest concern with these temps is hypothermia, especially when we factor in the wind and the water. So I'm not exactly prepared to stay out here for a week or two because that would be unreasonable. I could walk home in that amount of time. But my immediate action stuff that I need to think about is hypothermia, because I could die from that in 20 to 30 minutes, just depending on what the conditions are. So let's go over some of the gear that I packed, and maybe this will help you out going out into the wilderness or going fishing or whatever it is. A lot of the times survival kits, they get overcomplicated and they get huge. People think they need to prepare for everything from a zombie apocalypse to surviving up in Alaska when they're just going on a day hike. So it's really up to you to figure out what your needs are going to be and what risk you're assuming going out to whatever spot it is. So for today, I was very specific about a few things. So I don't have a lot of stuff, but enough to where I'm comfortable enough to where if there was an emergency, especially involving hypothermia or me falling in the water, I'd be able to survive that. So check it out. All right, so we got our sweet little fishing kayak here, and it looks like a yard sale right now. All this stuff though, when I'm finished with the video, is going back into our key piece of equipment, our waterproof stuff sack. Okay, these are cheap, they're easy, they come in a million different sizes, and they are worth their weight in gold if you're in wet conditions and you need stuff to stay dry. So this camera, my keys, wallet, all that stuff's going in there before I go out onto the water. But I pretty much just dumped it out here so we could take a look and see everything that we have. One of my favorite pieces of equipment, luckily I've not had to use it yet, is this rescue blanket. This is like one of those silver Mylar blankets that you see all the time when for like emergency situations and all that, but this one is actually like a sleeping bag, so you can get all the way in that thing, and it's got the reflective material, so it's going to reflect that body heat back to you. If I fell in the water, first of all, I'm wearing all synthetic and I'm wearing wool. Okay, so if I was wearing cotton, we like to call that death wear in the survival industry, because cotton holds on to that moisture, it doesn't wick it away, and then it's going to sit and soak all the heat out of you very, very quickly. Synthetics and wool material are going to be able to hold that heat even if you are soaking wet. And so since I've got an abundance of that stuff from being an Arctic survival instructor, that's what I'm covered head to toe in. All right, but so I've got this. If I was starting to go hypothermic, I can get in there. Another thing I can do, and this I have used to come back from mild hypothermia, are these Sterno cans. These are what they use for buffet lines, and you see them in restaurants and everything, but they're great for survival. This is like a little can of napalm. But if you're going hypothermic and you're losing control of your hands and everything else, this sucker, all you gotta do is pop the lid off and throw a spark or a match or lighter, whatever, in there, and it's going to burn hot and for a really long time. And what we used to do, like one time I was in the middle of the woods with students, and it was really nasty weather, and I wasn't taking care of myself as well as I was taking care of the students, and I started to go pretty hypothermic. And so I was like, all right, everybody stay here, chill out. And I went over to the side, I got my poncho out and I draped that over top of myself, and then put this in, basically I was in a sitting position, put that in between of my feet. It just sat there and let that heat build up inside of that poncho, and it warmed me up, and it dried me out. I opened up my layers so that heat could get in there to kind of my core, and it wasn't just being absorbed by the clothes that I was wearing. So I could take this guy, I could drape that over me, rest over top of this, and then when I start to get a little bit better, I can I can go and start breaking this stuff up and make a pretty good fire very, very quickly. You may have seen that immediate action fire video that I made a little while ago. Also got some hand warmers in case there's a real emergency. Got a butt wipe there. Don't leave home without those. Signaling is something else to think about too, because if I'm hypothermic or I'm lost, there's people out here looking for me, whatever, I want to be able to signal to them. It's a good, bright, sunny day. So we've got our survival signal mirror there. If these are very cheap, they're easy to use. The instructions are on the back. I highly recommend you pick one of these up because they're too easy, too light. We've got little Leatherman Multi-Tool, use that for everything. I've got a metal match in case my lighter that I have on my person, my butane windproof lighter, whatever reason I lose that or it doesn't work, I've got this as a backup. I've got this hunter's safety vest here as well because it's a good bright color. I can put that on if I feel like I'm gonna pass out or something. At least maybe they'll be able to see my body from the air. Or I can wave this around like a flag. That movement, that color, that's gonna catch somebody's eye, especially when we don't have any foliage on the trees. That's gonna stand out from outer space there. Other things too, if for whatever reason I have an allergic reaction, I get stung by a bee or whatever, I like to carry around some Benadryl with me just in case, because again, it doesn't weigh anything, and that could save your life pretty easily. Other things, I've got some binos, but those are just for my own personal use, for kind of outdoor use. But it'd be nice if I was stuck somewhere and I'm like trying to figure out if somebody's looking for me. And then obviously my fishing stuff. I've got a spare hat, I've got a beanie in my pocket, because even though it is like 65 degrees and beautiful out, anything in the 60s and below, you can go hypothermic very easily. And these temperatures are actually more dangerous, I believe, than say 20 degrees, 0 degrees, because we come out and our ambient temperature is nice and warm. So we're like, oh, cool, you know, it's a great day. But if you fall in the water, all of a sudden that little area of dead airspace around you that's been keeping you warm is totally invaded, and now you're losing your heat very quickly, and that ambient temperature is going to be really cold. 65-degree day is really nice, but think about taking a bath at 65 degrees or going swimming in 65-degree water, and I guarantee you this water is probably down in the 40s because of we're still at the end of winter here. So don't ever underestimate what you're getting into, but at the same time, don't make it such a big, scary situation that you need a backpack full of stuff when you're just doing something like going fishing or going on a hike. But anyway, hopefully we have some good luck today out on the water. Don't even have to worry about this stuff, but if there is an emergency, I'm all set. And hey, I've got my camera on me. Maybe I'll make a video of it too. Well, the fishing is no good for me today, or maybe I just haven't hit my groove yet. But I pulled over to the side to take a little break and decided, man, it'd be a lot of fun to actually go through the motions of what if I did fall off of my raft and I was going hypothermic, too far away from a vehicle, I'm on the other side of the lake, whatever scenario you want. But I have minutes to act. Today it's fairly warm out, so it'll be this will be more fun than anything, but we can think about what it would be like if it was really, really cold. And again, it's about 65 degrees. You can still go hypothermic in the 60s and below. So especially you factor in the wind, if you don't have sun, whatever's going on. So you may only have just minutes to act. So that's what we're gonna do. Basically, I was able to, we'll say the scenario is I fell off of my kayak, I gooned it, I took a swim in the lake, and I was able to grab a hold of my kayak. Even though I wasn't able to get back in it, I brought it to shore, and now I've gotten my survival kit, and we're gonna go from there. So here we go, live action. All right, so what I'm doing is I don't want to go too far, okay? Because everybody knows that I was here at the lake. They'll probably find my vehicle and they'll start looking around, and my wife knows where I go fishing and everything else, so they're gonna have a pretty good idea of where to start looking. All right, but the further I go into the woods, away from that last known position, then the harder it is for people to find me, okay? So things I'm looking for are a good open spot where I can signal to people on the lake or somebody that might be flying around looking for me. Hey, this looks like a pretty good open spot. I'm close to my last known position, and I've got some resources as well. All right, normally, if I'm getting out a space blanket, I'm gonna get probably as close to butt naked as I can so that my body heat is able to radiate inside of this thing. If there's somebody with me, guess what? They're getting naked and I'm getting naked, and we're gonna become a lot better friends because we have to have skin to skin contact. So I can basically steal their body heat and start warming up. Now that doesn't mean it's gonna be real nice and toasty. Like I said, I'm stealing their body heat. So if they're gonna have to switch out, they're gonna have to take turns warming up, all that stuff, make sure that they don't become a hypothermic patient as well. In this situation, I'm all alone, okay? So I'm relying on my body heat, the sun, and the space blanket to increase that. Now, I'm not getting butt naked, but we'll get down to our next to skin layer, but you get the idea. All right, so I'm not wasting any time. I'm not screwing around, because hypothermia, depending on what the temperature is, it could start really quickly. The things I'm looking for as far as my signs and symptoms is if I start obviously feeling real cold in my core. All right, mild hypothermia, I'm gonna start shivering. Shivering's actually kind of a good thing, because what we're doing is we're creating heat inside of our body and we're burning calories, okay? But the longer that that goes on in that state, the more calories we're burning. And if you're out there and you're already low on calories, well, that's not gonna last too long. When you run out of those calories to burn, all the vasoconstriction that's been going on to keep the blood inside of your core to maintain your organs through that hypothermic state is all of a sudden going to release, because you're not able to maintain that vasoconstriction because you're simply out of energy. So that blood is all of a sudden going to flush all the way back out into your system, and especially up around your skin, and that's where your nerves are. So all of a sudden somebody's going to go from being super drunk, almost totally just out of it, not knowing what's going on, to feeling like they're in a heat wave, like they're down in Key West, and people will start taking off their clothes because they're so hot because of that immediate flush of blood to the upper layers of the skin. And so people who are severely hypothermic are sometimes found naked and buried in a pile of snow or wedged under rocks or logs, whatever they can get under, because all of a sudden, when all that heat dissipates, because it's superficial, it's all up here at the surface, and it's going to be there for a minute, and then it's going to go out into the air around you, and all of a sudden you're going to become basically extremely cold, and you're done at that point. So if somebody ever starts acting like they're drunk and you can't understand them, or they're just being so out in the deep end that it's weird, they're going hypothermic, okay? If they start taking off their clothes, you have very little time to act, all right? When you're a lone survivor, you have even less time to act, because once you get into those stages, it's too late. You can't help yourself, all right? So you have to act very quickly, all right? So I'm starting to warm up in this thing. I'm in the sun, which is great. It's helping out. Notice I've got the shiny side on the inside, because that's reflecting the heat. If I put this on the outside, it's like aluminum foil. It's all the heat's gonna bounce right off of it, and I'm not getting it here on the inside. All right, so I need this temperature, just like we're cooking a steak, to get in full thickness back into my core, so I keep that good 98.6 degree temp. All right, now I am aware that this might not work, and I could be incoherent, pass out, go into a coma, whatever, worst case scenario. So I've got my signaling stuff out. I'm putting that right on top of me. All right, so if somebody's looking for me, they can see me out in the water, they can see me in the air. If Joe Bob in his fishing boat sees me out here crappie fishing, he's gonna be like, boy, that's weird. Why is there a yard sale with a dude covered in orange up there? And they're gonna come check it out, okay? And maybe even though they don't know I'm here, I could get rescued that way. So I wanna make my presence as big as possible with whatever I've got. And I've got man-made material here, all right? We'll talk, the signaling is a whole nother lesson, but we're just right in immediate action, okay? Same time, hey, I've got some water. I might be kind of going into shock. I might be pretty scared and freaked out. And plus, being more hydrated helps my blood circulate and circulate that heat through my body even more efficiently. So make sure you're sipping water as you're going. So I've got that here with me. These hand warmers, I can crack these open, and I'm not going to use them for my hands. That'd be dumb. But I have places on my body, and you do too, where your arteries come up very close to the surface of the skin. So if I crack these open and put them in my armpits, put them in between my legs and my groin, the back of my neck and where my kidneys are, that will absorb that little bit of heat, and it will start helping to circulate it through my system as well. Okay, other things are, you know, just be on the lookout. You're going to lose manual dexterity if you continue to get cold and you're losing the blood circulation through your limbs. It's slowly drawing back and going to your core to protect those organs. Okay, so be aware of that. If you start feeling that, you know that I need to do more to warm up. Okay, I've got my Sterno can. I can crack this sucker open, and as I start getting a little bit better in here, now I can start using it to warm up. I can drape this over top of me and build that heat up, and also dry things out a little bit as well. Okay, I could use this and all this material around me. I've got tinder, I've got kindling, I've got fuel stage, boom, all right here next to me. Okay, now it's probably not a good idea to make a fire right there if you're not in control of yourself, but if you start getting your facilities back together, that sure would be a nice thing to dry out those clothes, and just for morale and everything else that fire is so good for. Additionally, I've got my signal mirror. Okay, so I can sit here if there's somebody in the air looking for me, or if there's somebody out on the lake, I can probably hit them with this. Signal mirrors have been recorded at about or somewhere around 100 nautical miles, clear line of sight on a nice day like today. So if I'm using this right, I'm gonna get somebody's attention. Now, if I was floating in the middle of the water, the wind is making the water ripple. And if you've ever flown in an airplane, you know it glimmers like that. Okay, so if I'm shining my light like that, I'm just gonna look like another wave out there. But if that plane is flying over and I'm holding it steady, then I'm gonna stand out and I'm gonna contrast against those waves. But I'm not out in the water right now, I'm on the land, okay? And so to contrast from maybe some junk or metal that's gonna reflect, I wanna make sure that I've got movement, okay? Movement is very key in signaling. I can take my orange vest, I can do this, and that's gonna be seen from very far, far away. All right, those very simple things. What else I got? Let's see, I've got my metal match, I've got my Leatherman. So I'm good to go, you know. Inside of my jacket, there's some granola bars. I could start eating those to get my calories back up, get those oils and fats, the sugars and everything. That's gonna help me create heat and really start warming this just cold piece of meat up, basically, in so many different facets. All right, we have to hit this in a bunch of different ways. If you just make a fire and you stand there with your hands over the fire, you're gonna die because you're not able to absorb that heat efficiently. A fire is nice for drying things out, for morale, for warming up water, for boiling water, for making tools. I mean, you name it, I could go on for days. But for hypothermia and treating it, it's not an efficient tool. But once things are under control, that is a good thing to start with, or if you've got an extra person that can start on that. But in this case, where I'm like severely hypothermic, I don't have time to fiddle around with that. And so I need to go to more efficient means and make sure that I'm covered in case I am incapacitated and people are looking for me later on, okay? But hopefully life is good. It's a beautiful day like today, and I think I'm getting a sunburn. I'm probably, you know, I've got a signal mirror right here that's already built in, so that's awesome. But this type of survival kit method is called is basically consolidated. All right, it's there's another method that's a scatter method, and that would be like putting stuff all over your body in different pockets and in a backpack here and there, and that works well too. The advantage to the scatter method is if you're separated from a piece of gear. Let's say Loch Ness Monster ate me off of my kayak and all I had were my clothes on me and I had to build a fire inside of them, well, if I had some Vaseline and cotton balls in a metal match, I could do that, okay, in a pocket or whatever, even though I was separated with my other gear. So if your circumstances are high, are likely that you could be separated from a lot of your equipment, then you do want to do the scatter method. But if not, like if I fall off the boat, I'm probably going to be able to hold on to the boat. Loch Ness Monster isn't going to get me. And so I'll be able to get to shore, grab something, and take care of business. But anyway, you really need to just assess what the risks are and what's going to work best for you. There's a lot of different schools of thought for that, but it's up to you to figure out what's going to work. And you need to be fluid and be able to adapt to different types of situations and not just do one thing all the time. All right. But anyway, that was a lot of fun. I guess I'll get dressed again and maybe try to go fishing some more, because it's so awesome out here. But hope y'all are well, and hit me up if you got questions. Thanks, y'all. Bye. Hey y'all, I realized in the excitement I forgot just one or two things. If you are all alone and you're in a space blanket or whatever, and you're trying to not go hypothermic and build heat back up, make sure that you're in there doing flutter kicks, push-ups, creating as much energy and heat from your body as possible, and that's going to collect in there and really help out. So that's important as well. If it's you and a buddy inside of that thing, skin-to-skin contact, your buddy's probably gonna have to take breaks and hop out, do some jumping jacks or whatever to warm back up, and then get back in there, because you're just sucking all that energy out of them, all that heat energy. So but again, being prepared, having a spare set of clothes, a spare set of socks, a space blanket. I mean, you saw just a few things I had. I think I felt really well covered. The only thing that I'm kicking myself in the butt for is that I wish I had a whistle, because if you're screaming and yelling, eventually you're not going to be able to do that anymore. But blowing on a whistle is very, very easy. It doesn't take much breath or energy. They have whistles that do not have a ball in them, and those are called waterproof whistles, and they're usually bright orange. They're in the boating section typically. But yeah, anyway, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for watching that, and hopefully you got something from it. So just hit us up if you got comments. I'd love to hear it. We'll see you later. Bye.